Morning, good morning. Welcome to the morning show with Angel and Tina. How you guys all doing
Good
today?
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. We have our fabulous guests on with us, Dannella Burnett and Sam Adams. Dannella, how's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah,
Going
where are you
great.
coming in from?
Just north of Atlanta here in Georgia. Not too far from you all.
Well, I'm in Denver, so you're a little
So
far.
you're a little far for her, but not far
Not
from
too
far
far
me.
from Tina.
And then
Now,
Sam, what about you? You're in Colorado, right?
That's right. I'm in Parker, Colorado, just south of Denver and a long way from Atlanta.
How far are you guys away from each other?
so okay, I'm in Highlands Ranch. Yeah, so we're in the same county.
Oh, okay. So you guys
Okay.
aren't too far.
Yeah, so we're probably about 20, 30 minutes away from each other. But
Dannella, how far are you from Covington, Georgia?
Covington?
That's northwest, I'm northeast. So we're probably close to lateral, but we're different sides of the city.
That's where my family roots are. I had to ask you.
Oh,
Very
really?
nice.
Okay.
Been there many times, but it's probably about an hour and 30. You know, Atlanta traffic.
Right.
You know,
5 hours either way.
yeah, why get somewhere in 10 minutes when you can take an hour?
Yeah, right.
If anyone who's watching is familiar with the show In the Heat of the Night,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the show, when they go through the credits and show Carol O'Connor and the stars of the show, at the end of that beginning of the show, there's a scene with a big city building of some type and all that. That's taken from Covington, Georgia. That's downtown Covington, Georgia.
ooh,
Very cool.
There's a lot of stuff that are movies that are filmed in Atlanta. When I was there, so many movies were filmed there. I lived in North Atlanta in Ackworth, Kennesaw area, and Dannella lived on the other side of Atlanta. But there's so many movies that are filmed there.
I have a friend who lives here. She lives in Castle, the Meadows in Castle Rock, and she flies to Atlanta regularly. Like she works in Atlanta. She does like hairstyles, but like period styles. So like 50s and 60s, and she did the Aretha Franklin movie.
Oh, how fun.
Really?
Yeah, so she goes back and so she's there for weeks, right? She'll be on a set a set, but filming a movie,
Yeah.
right?
movie
And
set.
here, she was here for a while, but realized that they just don't make very many movies here in Colorado. So
Yeah.
she travels and flies regularly. She tried to get my daughters because my daughters want to break into the movie industry, and she told them move to Atlanta, right? Because
Yeah.
that's where all the movies are being
It
made.
really is.
Yeah, Atlanta is referred to, as the Hollywood of the South. And just to get an idea of kind of where I live, the Netflix show that's out right now, Ozarks,
Okay.
all of that is filmed. It's supposed to look like the Ozarks in the
Yeah,
Midwest,
it's
but
filmed
all
in
of
Lake
that is
Lanier.
filmed right here at Lake Lanier,
Yep.
which is where I live. I live in that area of Flowery Branch. So much of what you see there in like the downtown area, in that show and the lake scenes, that's all right around my house
It was
here.
funny because we were watching that because I've never seen it before. And then season 3 came out, and I was like, well, we just went into quarantine. So we started watching it. And I kept going, is this Georgia? I said, I think this is Georgia. So I looked it up, and sure enough, it was Lake Lanier. And I said, I knew it was.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
really fun, right? So you didn't see any of the behind the scenes. You didn't go for a casting call to be an extra.
Just like you can see the like trees, and Georgia has like certain trees that nobody else does. And when you see them, you're like,
Yeah, it's very much Lake Lanier and the surrounding area. So yeah, we've happened on, times when they were filming in different areas around town and in Flowery Branch and Gainesville. But yeah, the movie industry, of course everybody's dealing with different changes right now, but the movie industry, there's a lot that's done here in Georgia. Georgia made it really attractive for things to be filmed here. And of course, Tyler Perry Studios and, some of the other
Yeah, we were
support that
hoping
we have.
they'd do some more, here in Denver. My kids all went to the Colorado Film School here, and for a while there was talks of putting together a big production studio and big production area in Parker, Sam. But then, you know, the investors and that all fell through. So that's when my girls hightailed it and moved out of town. They didn't move to Georgia though. They went and worked for Disney World. So they're in Florida.
Yeah. So close to Georgia.
Close to Georgia. They're
Not
like
too far.
right. So they're
Dannella, is Atlanta's fully open now, right?
To a certain degree. It's still very limited in the number of people who can gather. So the restaurants are open with certain guidelines. Some of your bigger venues and in the event industry, which of course, you know, being my industry, that's what I follow the most. There's a lot of venues that are not opened yet because they're still only allowed gatherings up to about 25 people. So there's certain venues for, you know, weddings or larger scale speaker events and so forth that have not reopened because it doesn't make sense. They can't really reopen for 25 people. So it's in the process of reopening. And we did have a kind of another round of openings on Monday on June 1st.
Are you still staying home though?
I am. Now, my husband has been out from the beginning. We own locally here in Georgia a tent and event rental company. And between March 13th and March 16th, all he did was field the phone calls with cancellations, graduations, nonprofit events, outdoor events, weddings, and so forth. On March 16th, he put $120,000 in canceled contracts on my desk. I mean, so I had my nervous breakdown on March 16th because on my end with speakers and events and events in the business space, you know, I'm fielding those calls for my clients and we're postponing events and seeing what we can do virtually, you know, but tents and events, I mean, that's physical. And so
there's no way you can
for now graduation, the university here, they're a big client of ours, you know, that graduation was canceled. Very, very quickly though, and I'm so grateful. Almost all of our tents are out with the health department, with FEMA, with the hospitals for mobile testing sites.
It pivoted.
Yes, we totally pivoted and shifted that. And we're starting to see weddings and things come back. And people are looking for that outdoor option because the indoor options are somewhat limited. So you know, I'm really, really grateful and happy that, you know, both of our businesses, either through virtual or a change in need, we've still been able to serve clients and we've still been able to, you know, we haven't lost an employee. We've kept every employee working in both businesses and super grateful for that.
You're going to probably even see, right, because of the need for more outdoor, your business could actually end up exploding, right? Even bigger. So yes, there's the drop, the sink, the panic, the fear. And I think we all had that. And Sam's an entertainer too, right? You're live and in person and doing live events where they're big venues, and that shut down. How quickly when did that all shut down for you, Sam?
My last gig in front of an actual audience was March. It was like March 13th that week. Actually out in Vegas for a convention, and I'll never forget. I was there when the news came out that Tom Hanks and an NBA player, Rudy Gobert, had tested positive for coronavirus. I was actually in Las Vegas at that time. When I took the trip, and I was only there, I wasn't even there 48 hours. But when I packed up to go to Vegas, I had like a large can of Lysol. Like the word was out that, hey, this coronavirus is out there. But at that time, people still didn't know. Like there were people saying you don't need masks. There were experts, you know, like everybody's an epidemiologist now, you know, like everybody knows, but they were saying masks won't do anything. But I had this huge can of Lysol. I had wipes that I purchased, and I carried a suitcase, a small suitcase for an overnight trip, basically. And everybody was like, why would you carry a suitcase? I said, because you can't get that Lysol through security that size. But I was already taking precautions, but I'll never forget being in the hotel lounge when that news came out, and I started telling people sitting at the bar, hey, as I moved away from them, I was saying, hey, some stuff is about to jump off. And I said, Vegas is going to be closed pretty soon. And then
Yeah.
Tender and
I was in San Diego doing my book launch. My best-selling day was on March 17th, the day San Diego and California went under lockdown. And I think it was the next day they went under lockdown, but I barely made it out of there.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say
4
you,
hours.
you got out
I
within.
sat in the airport.
Yeah.
I was there for a convention, so I performed, and then the convention, by 5 o'clock, it's done. But I went to the airport, and first of all, my flight was changed. This is when I knew some things were about to start happening. All of a sudden, my flight was delayed. I got on the phone. I started looking at my calendar and calling people that had me booked for March and April and May. And I said, hey, just kind of curious because things are starting to close. What are you guys doing? And at least 5 people at that time were like, we don't think we're going to be able to do it. My calendar was decimated.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So
how have you pivoted, Sam? Or have you not? Are you just day drinking now?
You know what's funny about day drinking?
That's why he didn't know if it was morning or not when we got on.
You know what's funny?
He's like, is it
I've done
morning?
a couple of Zoom comedy shows, maybe 5, 3 of which were actually paid gigs, and the other 2 were just like people who think that, well, you need to practice or something, and they're all like happy hours, and I tried to tell them that I might have had, I think since that evening in Vegas, I think I've had 5 glasses of wine. And
It's been 90 days, Sam.
I'm not a certified wino, but I like my wine.
Angel says, I had 5 glasses just yesterday.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, one of the things that I haven't been doing since the pandemic is drinking. But it's a different world being like this and being boxed in, no audience. It's not the same as when you're a comedian.
Yeah, you're a comedian.
We live off the live audience, the sound of the laughter, the looking at the faces. When it's working, when it's clicking, when you're on versus just on, or if you're off. I'm not trying to.
Right? Did this fit? Do I keep
I don't
it?
have a lot of off nights. I've been fortunate in my career that I make people laugh. But this thing, doing it in Zoom, it's different because you got people in boxes.
You don't feel the energy.
You don't feel the energy. You got the mics on mute. So even if they are laughing, you don't even know if they're laughing at you. You don't know if their kid is running across naked. You don't know. Am I doing this, or that or people are like this? It's like the 1920s and 30s where people used to sit around the radios and listen. And so I'm looking at the screen and I can see people and they're like this. And I'm thinking, like, do they not know that I'm looking at them? But I powered through it. So what happened, Angel, a local based company that's got offices all across the country booked me to perform for their personnel, their HR department, and there was about 30 people, and it was my first one, and I was thinking, okay, how is this going to go? And it was uncomfortable just being in front of boxes of people like Hollywood squares. And they're not making noise. Yeah. But I thought, I thought they didn't like it. But at the end, they turned on all the mics and people were clapping. I was like, okay, were they
even listening? Right?
Are they clapping because I'm done, or are they clapping because I was good?
Oh, that's over.
Get them out of here so we can start thinking, And but they apparently liked it because the woman that hired me from HR referred me to another department in the company, and they booked me for a second happy hour. And I was ready. I'd done one, so I was ready, prepared for the situation, what it was going to be. And the one thing I had noticed the first time, and I didn't use it to my advantage, is when the names pop up, you know, like Tina,
Oh.
your name is up there. Angel, your name is up there. Dannella, your name is up there. So I'm standing, you know, I do my bit standing up. You guys saw me, I had my microphone and all that stuff. And so I'm talking, and I thought I started doing my bits, and as I would do them, I would go, right, Tina? You know, so when Tina was like
And I'm
this,
like, huh?
you know, and it makes everybody else laugh at Tina.
Right?
You know,
Haha.
then it makes them think, okay, we gotta like, you know, and a couple people literally clicked off so I couldn't see their pictures, like their faces. You know, they didn't jump off, they just went into, you know, but I still knew their names, you know, and so I didn't.
I know I can't see you, but I know you're
Yeah,
listening.
I didn't spend the whole time picking on them. It's the same thing as if you go to a comedy club and the comedian starts picking on the audience, and that's never been my shtick.
That's why you never sit in the front row when you're going to a comedy show.
I started making them
Never.
feel like, okay,
Especially like on a first date. Oh, they would.
I started making them feel like if you're gonna not watch me, or you're gonna ignore me, or you're gonna like I see you, and I'm
Right.
gonna bring you into the show, and then your workmates are gonna laugh at you.
So pay attention.
Right.
And I started picking on people's backgrounds. You know, like people put those virtual backgrounds. Like the group I had was in Louisiana, and it was a warm day. I already had checked the weather down there. It was a warm day, and the guy had a fireplace for his background. And I can't remember his name, but I was just like, Andre, really? A fireplace going at 5 o'clock in Louisiana, man? Come on, you know.
Well, we had you on our Connect Summit 3 or no 4. Wait, what was it 4? When are we on? We're
We've
on.
done,
We've
we've
done
done so many things.
I think it was the Connect
Okay.
Summit 4. He was
Okay.
on, and we always do a happy hour at the end, and we did a connection, cocktail, and comedy happy hour, happy hour, and everybody was laughing up. Everybody
Yeah.
was laughing, but
fun to have.
you didn't bust anybody out that day.
No, that was a long day though. I mean, that you know, it's different when people set up a happy hour. Like this afternoon, I have one with one of the local chamber of commerces, and it's just they've set up a happy hour, and I'll perform for 30 minutes, and then they'll drink. They'll get rid of me and they'll drink, and you know that'll be fine with me. But at the end of a conference that's been going for like 5 or 6 hours, that's a tough day. You know, because you've heard a lot of stuff, and plus, like, who want anybody who came after Les Brown technically followed Les Brown. So you know, like you don't really want to follow Les Brown, you know, and
Yeah, Les Brown was our keynote speaker this month.
Yeah,
they
that was
married, by the way, the lady who was on there,
Carrie.
Sandra.
The love of his life, Zandra Evans.
You know what? I should have offered to marry them on the spot. I know officially done it.
I would have loved that. Zandra, are you watching?
You would have said, I do, right?
I know. I do. Well, we haven't got to that part yet. I do.
I could have just like right there
You
on
would've.
the spot, Zoom wedding.
Right? We could have. Zandra Evans is actually one of the Angel and Tina Morning Show's sponsors, and she is helping us get syndicated.
Well,
Yeah, so
I
ZTV.
enjoyed it, but Angel, to get to the meat of it, it's a different feel doing the Zoom show.
Oh, it is.
It's not like for me. I mean, I'm fortunate that I had, you know, money's put away. I didn't know it would be for a pandemic, but you know, you put money away, and so I've just kind of holding on while the wind is blowing hard, and hoping that when we get to August and September, when we get to the beginning of the fall, things will.
Is that when you think, Dannella, is that when you think it's gonna, when do you think, or when are you planning? Are you booking anything, or are you just scheduling everything for 2021 now?
It really depends on my client and what each of their goals are. Because, here's some of the challenges that and the conversations I've had with people. Depending on whether they're looking to do an event that attracts a local audience or they're looking to do an event that attracts, a national or an international audience, you kind of have different checkpoints you've got to get through before that's going to happen. And the first challenge is we have 50 states that all have different protocols. So like we were talking briefly at the beginning, I can tell you intimately, what's going on here in Georgia and what we can do. And I kind of have an idea of the timeline, if it continues the way it is now, when we might start to see events come up in Georgia. But I have clients in Chicago, in Canada, in California, in Texas, and Florida. So, I mean, I'm looking at all these different states to see kind of what timeline are they at. And as the states open up, they all have different protocols for the venues. And
and different protocols if you've traveled when you come home.
Yeah, they're saying that exactly. You have to self-quarantine yourself for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I went to go get my nails done yesterday. I got my nails done. It's been 3 months. And
in your hour time period that you had?
Oh my God, I rushed. I called. I'm like, can I? And she's like, come right now. I'm like, I'm coming right now.
I'm on my way.
And then I got to get back. But I had to sign a thing that said I had not traveled. I had not been on an airplane in 2 weeks. And I thought,
at your nail salon?
Yeah. So had I waited until, because I was going to travel. I was actually going to leave last night.
To Vegas.
To Vegas to speak to a small intimate gathering. And I woke up yesterday and I was just like, I just don't think I'm ready. I am not ready to go and put myself out there. And so I was having like a little panic attack.
Well, and then the riots were out there too, so it was.
As if it's not one thing, it's another, right? But when I went and realized like, so even if you do travel, even if you do go, when you come home, now you've got a whole nother set of and how do we really engage? Like even Sam, even if you are out, there's 6, social distancing, half as many people in the space wearing masks now. So you can't see their laughter.
You can't even see them laughing.
Right. Or for many of us who are there, like I speak and present from stage. So then how do I engage with them afterwards? Right. They're way over there and they have a mask.
Here, let me throw you my order form.
Right. Which we found the ways to handle that virtually right now. And I have to say, I'm so proud of my industry, from the event space and from the speaker space. Virtual has its challenges, but we're also finding some real ways to win in the virtual space. We were talking about this before. I actually had 2 events going on this weekend that had they been live and in person, they were live.
And you were only had to do one.
I couldn't have been in Florida and California at the same time. So there's some unique benefits that have actually risen out of this, time. And where we used to get our speakers on live stages, we're now getting them on virtual stages. And if
you are finding that you're getting a lot more attendance with your virtual?
More than virtual used to be when the choice was virtual or in person. Now that the only choice is virtual, we actually are seeing people make a decision. And if you run your event well with good engagement and you take into account that people are at home and you schedule your breaks accordingly and you schedule, the rise and the fall of the energy level like you should do when you're planning a good event and you're taking the attendees' journey into account. If you're doing all of that, we're seeing people stay for 1 and 2 and 3 day events and getting transformation. Speakers are getting leads, sales are being made, and entertainment. Sam, I would say there's more opportunities out there than you may think that there are. And that may be something we talk about, after this. It is challenging for a speaker who only feeds off the entertainment value and that connection, to the audience. But we had a client here in Georgia who messaged me, and he's an entertainer. He's a magician. He does acts for families. He's also a very, very high level character. He's got a string of employees who do the characters, parades and things like that. He's like, I don't have an audience. Like, my business is decimated. We got on the phone. We brainstormed a little bit. This was just before Easter. We came up with what we called raves, really awesome virtual experiences, put out a flyer. And for Easter, he had his Easter bunnies meeting the kids on Zoom and doing hellos on Zoom. And he's doing birthday greetings, you know, Iron Man and Wonder Woman. And so he's turned his business into something virtual. And just like I could be in California and Florida at the same time, he's actually on some Saturdays been able to stack up 6, 7, 8 of these raves, where if he was driving around town in Atlanta, he would have never been able to see that many clients. So
not in Atlanta.
it takes some creativity, but you know, the event industry and the speaking industry, you know, we are nothing if not creative as entrepreneurs.
Right? Yeah. When Angel and I decided to do the Connect Summit, when our speaking engagements started canceling left and right, I was in Tampa on my way to San Diego, and I called her up and I said, we got to do something. Let's do a virtual. She's like, let's do it. And within 10 days, we launched the first Connect Summit, and over 1,200 people were there.
In 10 days. We had 28 speakers, a 2-day event, right? We couldn't have done that. We couldn't have pulled something like that off in a live event, right? Getting a venue and everything that was required. So it is, you're right. Beforehand, when they had the option, it was different. But now that's all we have. The attendance is higher. The amount of events that people can attend, the ramp up time to plan and pull together an event. There are some benefits, and we've had to pivot, right? It's not perfect. You know, it's not the same as being live, but we are making those adjustments and figuring it out. Well, let's get to know. I'm gonna read Sam's bio.
Oh, you gotta.
I know it is a little lengthy, my
Don't
love.
forget to mention all the people
I'm an old dude. You know?
that he paid us to mention.
Yeah. So what do we want to say? You're grateful for your mom.
His mom, his dad, his great grandma, the next door neighbor, the great neighbor from down the street, I think it was.
Yeah. Sam says hi.
Hi.
I said she's great. Yeah.
Well, Sam is, I mean, it's a long bio, so I'm just going to do an abbreviated version if that's okay with you, Sam. He's a past winner at the Great American Comedy Festival. He also was in the Dry Bar comedy special called True Color. It went viral with more than 10 million Facebook views in less than 72 hours. And that video clip has amassed more than 31 million Facebook views. And some of his Dry Bar comedy clips for a year have surpassed 41 million views. So yeah, you know, few people have seen and probably heard of Sam. He's authored a book that documents numerous moments in his career as a sports journalist called If You Don't Believe Me, Lessons Listened from Listening to the Greats. And in the book, Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway offers a tribute to Sam. He's a comedian, he's a storyteller, he's an actor, he's a journalist, he's a local celebrity here in the Denver market, and a speaker. And we're super excited to have you here, Sam. I know I totally chopped that up. I hope that was okay.
That's all right. The only thing you didn't mention that I'm actually most proud of is last year I was inducted into the Denver Press Club, the most prestigious press club in America. I was inducted into their Hall of Fame. And I'm very
there. Oh yeah, it's right there. I'm like, I don't see that.
It's like, I don't see that.
But it is, yeah.
You know, I'm no longer in media. That for me, having been in journalism for 30 years here in the Denver area, to get that honor was quite special. There are only 5 African Americans in the Denver Press Club Hall of Fame, and I'm the 5th and the first sports writer. So,
wow.
Round of applause.
You, right? Yes, love that.
I have my coffee in my hand. Hold on, let me do it for real.
She's got her coffee in one hand and
I was like,
and a bad shoulder
and
in
the
the
bad
other.
shoulder. I'm like, okay, how am I
You
gonna
got
do
that
this?
bad shoulder from doing that thing.
Oh Jesus.
All right. Okay. So now I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read Dannella. So and then we'll go back and banter with the two of you. But so that we have Dannella's fabulous little bio.
We're gonna be a little professional here today.
I know. Normally, like normally we would have gotten to this faster, but the conversation, like our coffee time, is now gone on for half an hour.
I know, right?
Right. And so, the show's coming to an end, and now I've got to like rush through and get all this good stuff in. Dannella has been in the hospitality and special event industry since the age of 16. She has also won numerous local, national, and international awards. Were you in the Hall of Fame too, Dannella? I don't want to miss that if you were.
Not the Hall of Fame, some other awards, but not the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's
Come
a
on,
lot
Dannella, get with the program.
a lot of awards, right? So she rebranded in 2018 to Encore Elite Events to reflect the national scopes of clients and services that she provides. So she founded Speakers Need to Speak to provide education, talent management, and guaranteed gigs for speakers and sponsors. Her clients include national speakers, celebrities, networking associations, large corporations. She's also a speaker on event and speaker strategies. She's a coach. She's a creative force that believes in multiple streams of income, collaboration, and always finding the win-win-win combination. So, Dannella, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. What a small world. I was on, speaking of, transitioning to virtual events and 3-day events. I attended a 3-day Friday all day, like it was 10 to 7 here in Denver, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, 300 people in this 3-day virtual event. And this morning when we get on and I'm looking at Dannella's background, I'm like, that looks really familiar. I've seen that recently. She was the VIP speaker. So if you went VIP, right, always go VIP. Right. During the VIP lunch, they brought in a special speaker every day, and Dannella was one of the VIP speakers. So what a small world that I hung out with her this weekend, and here she is on the morning show today.
Wow. Yep, that worked out.
I like how everybody comes together so well, and I don't even do that on purpose. It just lands in my calendar like that.
Well, and here we are talking to two people who are very involved in the event speaking industry, right? And how we're shifting and pivoting and the things that you've done to get through during this time and how you're coming out of it. And really, we talk about being that business first responder, right? In front of the wave and pivoting and shifting and figuring out, whereas a lot of people, even when we started doing the morning show, we thought we would do this for 2 weeks. Right? While everybody's on quarantine, while everything's shutting down, let's do the morning show just to be that optimism, that bright spot, to stay connected. And we're now going into month 3 of
month 3. We have our own TV, our own mugs. We're getting syndicated. We're gonna get on Apple TV. We're gonna be on Roku. We're gonna, we got sponsors.
For me, it was interesting hearing Dannella speak about the use, the creativity that we have as entertainers, and for me, this time, as you mentioned, Angel, now 3 months, it's given me a chance to channel my creativity in my acting in creating a whole new act. If you talk to most comedians that are in the game for the long haul, you just don't come up with a new 45, 60 minutes like that. It takes time. And when you're on the road or when you're working week to week, it's hard to come up with a new act while working the old act. So this time has actually been good for me to create, some new bits, if you will, for my routine. But now, having said that, and something I shared with you, Tina and Angel, last week, I did the comedy Dannella, but it's like there's so many pieces to me that, there's comedian Sam, there's speaker Sam, there's journalist Sam. And so I was giving you guys some nuggets, and one of them that I gave y'all was the acronym SOUL, soul, is what it spells, but it's sense of urgency level. And that's what this pandemic has created, an even higher sense of urgency level too, as you say, Dannella. Get your creative mind active.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it's like for me, okay, I got my notepad and I'm thinking, and every day something comes up. It ain't like I have to think hard of something to come up, but how do you make it funny, and how do you make it relatable to the audience?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a sense of urgency level because of the uncertainty of the times
Mm-hmm.
that kind of makes it tougher than it would normally be. And but I think if people focus on their sense of urgency level, and once you find it,
Well, that's what Les Brown says, right? You got to be hungry, right? He's got that.
You better say that right.
We do quite a few events with Les. We have an event coming up in July with Champion Mindset with Les Brown and Brian Tracy as our keynote speakers.
He's going to do it virtually, right?
Yeah, that one will be a virtual event as well, and we're gearing up for that.
He said he is never leaving his house again.
He's loving it. I mean,
Tina May.
Yeah, I mean, Les was never a huge fan of the travel part.
Yeah.
But now certainly, with his level of experience and what he brings to the platform, and that he can do it more comfortably from being in his environment. We had him on an event a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, he just talked and cracked himself up for 45 minutes and gave such value to everybody else. I mean, it was probably the most fun that I've seen him have on a stage. And I've done many, many events over the years with Les on the stage. And, with a lot of speakers, that travel can be stressful. It can be tense. You're not in your home environment. You're sleeping in a hotel. Maybe things went great with the airlines. Maybe they didn't. There's a level of stress to that. But I mean, when you're in your home environment and you can be in that more comfortable, relaxed state, and then you're speaking and sharing wisdom and nuggets with an audience, I mean, we're really, again, it's one of those kind of hidden benefits that we would have never looked for. But because we're getting creative and we're making things happen,
it was so much fun.
Cool things happening.
Yeah, it just felt like, he's in his home, he's in his environment. He's far more relaxed. He was so engaging. Talked about his new, what did you call the afro? His afro?
His Corona afro.
He called it Corona afro. I called it something different. I said it was Frovid 1973.
Frovid, yeah, because his Corona afro, right? Or his COVID afro.
But he did the same thing. He spoke for like 45 minutes and he was just cracking himself up, and he dropped, everybody was just taking notes and dropping nuggets and doing the Les thing that he always does. I was speaking to him yesterday because him and I are speaking on an event this weekend. And it's so funny because he has a little nickname for me, and he has it in his phone.
Yeah, she's Tina May in his phone, so we all can call her Tina May, right? Can we? Or is that just Les? Only Les can do that?
He's not around. We can call her that. He doesn't have to know. We can call her that.
Oh yeah, Tina May, what are you doing? I'm like, it's 7:00 in the morning. What's going on?
But the sense of urgency, the calmness, right? Or the ability for these speakers, even Les is saying, or Sharon Lecter, I chatted with her. She's like, I did 6 events this week, right? Or she could be at multiple events in a day. They could not do that before. So there are some side benefits that we didn't recognize going into.
And then that first day, you and I, because when I went bestseller with my book, you did a best-selling campaign with me that day in San Diego. That's when I was in San Diego. You're like, hold on, I got to hop off and head to, YF1 in Oregon. Yeah. And then I got to come back and go to Denver. And you're like, oh, I went through all 3 states in one day.
It was like having my own little teleporting machine. Now that's how I went into it. Like at first I was super excited. Like, here I go. Now I'm at this networking event in Portland. Then I get to be at my board meeting in Denver. It's like having my own teleporting machine. About 3 weeks later, a month later, I was like, I have Zoom fatigue. I was like,
we were like, we have ZF. And they're like, what is ZF? We're like, Zoom fatigue.
Yeah. Zoom fatigue. Cause it was like so much. It was all day, all the time. And so then having to find that nice little balance
Yeah.
and pull back. But Dannella, you were going to say something a couple minutes ago. Do you remember what you were going to throw in?
Well, you actually touched on it. We have a speaker that we book her on stages, and in a week's time, we were able to book her literally on 3 different continents, which we would not be able to do that in the real world because the travel to have made that happen would have
Yeah.
been a nightmare.
And
But
she would have
because
been
of the virtual
exhausted.
space, yeah, I mean, it just, you would never do that. You would never commit to that. You would have had to make a decision. So, it was a pleasant thing that's come up. And I actually just spoke about the Zoom fatigue with another group last week, and about being really mindful of what your energy level is, and creating those opportunities. And I was actually talking to them as event producers. When you are creating that 1 day or 2 day or 3 day event, if you will build that in, and understanding that your attendees are experiencing that, and you build some of that in, and you have somebody after lunch, just like we would do in a live event, you have somebody who's super, super high energy after lunch, whether it's somebody who's doing, physical exercise, yoga or breathing, or some sort of, getting up and jumping up and down, or having a comedian after lunch. That's something we frequently would do in the live event, in the real live event space as well. So that after lunch, when you've kind of got that, okay, I've relaxed a little
I want
bit,
to
my
take a nap
energy
now
level,
feeling.
has kind of come down to here. How do we get that back up? Because you want to be in that high energy space in order to absorb new information. And so a good event will also have that built in, because it's real easy to just be like, another hour online, this is
Well,
my work.
and I told this to the team at Iman's event this last weekend. I almost said no. Actually, twice I said no. I wasn't going because it was the weekend. Right? I sit here all day during the week doing my thing, and I had to learn to set some boundaries, right? And so when they said I'm doing it over the weekend, I'm out. Right? I know it's going to be valuable, but I've got to take care of me. And little conversation, right? And a little bit. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll go. But if it's sunny outside, I'm going to take this and I'm going to watch it with my iPad out and get some sun. I participated all 3 days for the whole thing. It was so engaging and so valuable. So it can be done. It can absolutely be done, but we do want to be mindful of our audience. But we can figure it out. And I think, Dannella, this is something you are training your speakers and your events, those that are shifting over to virtual events, to make sure that they include these dynamic elements for the audience. So what exciting project are you working on now, Dannella? Tell people what you're up to and how they can get in touch with you.
Great. Well, probably the easiest way, we've just launched a new public group on Facebook in order to talk about this. We're fully in the virtual space, and we're going to be staying there for a minute. And so I had to get super, super clear on how we help speakers and event hosts before, and what we do now, and what's that similarity. And in my world, it's really all about visibility. So we have a new group on Facebook, Visibility by Speakers Need to Speak. We also have an event coming up July 16th through the 18th called Visibility, the event, where we're going to be talking about a lot of this, how entrepreneurs and experts and speakers can get more visibility as we stay in this virtual space, and as we at some point start to move into the live space. And we may have a period of time that's kind of a hybrid, and what can we be doing now to bolster our business, to, like Sam is working on now, what do we need to maybe go back to and rework or refashion? This is both the time of being out in the front, but also making sure you're working on what's going on behind the scenes, and making it stronger, and making it, to where we not only survive coming through this as a business, but we move into thriving. And so definitely would love to connect on social media. Speakers Need to Speak, Visibility by Speakers Need to Speak. And we're doing interviews with our members there. So just love to connect.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
happy to also drop my calendar link for anybody who just wants to have a conversation, about what's working now and what's not, and maybe needs a nudge in the right direction.
Love it. I love it. Well, fabulous. Fabulous. How about you, Sam? What exciting thing are you working on and how do you want people to connect with you?
I'll do the connection stuff first. I'm on all the main social media. I'm on Facebook with a fan page as well as a friend page. I'm on Instagram at Sam Adams Does Comedy. Twitter. I don't know why I'm on Twitter. I'm not a good tweeter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Ritalin.
Why I'm on that thing, but I am. Come join me.
I'm on Ritalin. I'm on a lot of stuff. And then my main website, samadamsdoescomedy.com. So I'm always looking to connect with people. But as far as what I'm doing behind the scenes, if you will, I think these times have brought us to a lot of words that start with RE. Whether it's rejuvenate, refresh, reinvent, all these re's. And for me, I'm kind of reconnecting with the writer within me. I have the one book that kind of documents my time as a sports writer. That book, if you don't believe me, Lessons Learned from Listening to the Greats, is really just a lot of quotes that I took from interviews over the years and found ways to make them useful to people. There's a little bit of name dropping in there and sorts, but take, if you had a chance like I had to talk to some of the greatest coaches in NFL history, they say things that tell you why they won championships. Why not put them out there for people to use in everyday life? So that's what I did with that book. But with all this off time that we've had, I started digging back into those same tapes and things that I had. And I found that, I have enough for another book, sports related. And so I'm thinking about doing it. I've talked to some of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, guys that are no longer alive today. But in the time that we talked, the conversation was the same. What does it take to be a great quarterback? And I don't think ladies argue about it the way men do, but we're always getting that argument. Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest quarterback?
Yeah, I don't think we do that much.
But I have the greatest quarterbacks that are being argued from the 60s and 70s, as well as guys like John Elway and Dan Marino. I have on tape conversations that I had with them about that topic, and I thought, why don't you make a book out of it? And then the other thing that I'm thinking about making a book out of is the comedy experience. That True Color video that has so many million views, it got me booked in a town in Arkansas, Harrison, Arkansas, which if you Google Harrison, Arkansas, you will see that it has a reputation as being the most racist city in America. They saw the video, and the guy that owns the theater there, the Lyric Theater, thought maybe your message will resonate with some of our residents. It was kind of a daunting task, but I took it. I took the gig. I'm not that famous where I can turn down money. And so I took the gig. This was back in 2018, and a lot of people were worried for me and concerned, like, oh my God, you're going. But I went by myself. And long story short, I did double the time that I was booked. I was booked for 45 minutes. I did a 90-minute show. I got a standing ovation in the so-called most racist town in America. And but all the things that led up to that show that night. And then last year I went back for a second show. They brought me back. I tempted fate. And but everything that went on leading up to it, it's worthy of a story. Somebody wanted to do a documentary film on it, but it fell through. And I thought, I don't really need a film to tell the story. I'm a journalist. Right. I can write it, and anything that happens after that happens. And so I've been weighing the idea very heavily of writing about that experience. Telling it to you in 3 minutes doesn't do the justice of what the actual feelings were for me and other people that went into that particular experience. And when you look at what's going on right now, I think anything that's along those lines, people want to read what the experience was about.
Well, I'm so excited that the two of you were here with us today to be a bright start to everybody's morning, to talk about your experience, how you've pivoted, the resources you have for everybody. Dannella, I did go on to the Facebook and put your calendar and group links, and I joined your group, right? So thought, well, speakers need to speak. Like that's
right. We need to get out there.
Yeah, right. That's how the Connect Summit came to be. The very first one, 10 days, or 2 days, 28 speakers. Since then, during this time, we have hosted 4 virtual summits. We would never have done 4 live events, right? Pulling people together and doing all that.
And over 80 speakers,
right?
Over 80 guests on our morning talk show.
Giving them a platform. And because not only do speakers need to speak, the people who are expecting to go to those events lost out on attending those events. It's not just, okay, we needed to share. There were a lot of people that were expecting to be connected and to learn and to have access. And so we've been able to provide that during this time. We do have our 5th Connect Summits coming, right? It's in
June 23rd.
In the works right now. So we'll continue this, and and for as long as we can, and continue to be that bright start.
And I think for the next 2 summits, we have waiting list of speakers.
It is well, because
there's no call for speakers right now because they just keep waiting. I'm on the next one. Put me on the next one. Put me on the next one.
Yeah, there has been a waiting list since the very first one, and because we're looking for speakers and the attendees, right? And the attendees are excited to have access. And and in our world, it starts to feel like, okay, there's a lot, it's like there's so many. But we have to remember, out of the population, we represent a very small portion of the population. Yeah. There are still a lot of people that are out there that are looking for content, and they're looking to be taught, and they're looking for hope and inspiration and that connection. And so even though it might start to feel like, okay, there's a lot, right? You've spoken on 20, 40, 60, but there's still a lot of members of the population that this is not their world. It just happens to feel like it because we're we're the speakers hopping from the event to event. But today is day 2 of the Media Mastery Bootcamp. I'm so excited. We are running a 3-day virtual event, and I was pretty stoked with how it turned out yesterday. It can be done, and there's a lot of added benefits. It is different, but there are a lot of added benefits. If you are looking to get more media exposure, I am your media exposure specialist. You can download your complimentary guide at makeyourbigimpact.com, makeyourbigimpact.com. And next week, we are hosting a workshop on how to leverage the power of a press release to get more exposure and connect with journalists and the media using press release. And so I'll put the link in the comments below.
I'm excited for day 2 of Media Mastery. You might get another little gift today. Yesterday, we had an amazing group of people. I'm Tina Torres, the client retention expert, otherwise known as the gratitude specialist, helping you create relationships and clients for a lifetime. Turn those clients into raving fans and increase your cash flow, all without adding a single new client. And you can text the word connection to 26786 to receive your free 7 ways to increase your cash flow right now. And so text connection to 26786. And we are Angel and Tina on the Angel and Tina Morning Show, where we come to you live every weekday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, bringing you some best audience people, audience guests everywhere. So come to us. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.